let's look at managing students in the VLE. So I'm going to come out of the title of the presentation, and I'm going to bring up the VLE now. And here we are on the front page of the VLE, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to log into it as an imaginary teacher. So I'm going to log in as a teacher, and we're logged in there. And as soon as I log in as a teacher, what it does is it takes me to my home page, and my home page is the courses that I'm on. And you can see that a teacher is enrolled on a number of courses. And I talked about this last week. What you'll see is that you're enrolled first at the highest level. You're enrolled on a program, HND Administration Information Technology. Then you might be enrolled on units which make up that program, but not all of them, obviously. So our teacher is on HND Administration Information Technology, which you can see here, and that's a alongside version of the course, because the courses are kept separate by campus. And he's actually teaching, or she's actually teaching, IT and business databases. Now I can go through to it from here, or back from my my home page. I can also see the direct link to IT and business databases. So let's go through to that course. So this is the course I'm running just now. And as I said, you can see it from there, or you can see it from HND Administration Information Technology here, IT and business databases. So here's the course, and let's say, you know, there's content in it already. As you can see, some of that content is kind of grayed out for the students just now. But it's about who are my students and where are they on this course. So if we look down the left-hand side, down the navigation and the course administration, there's two ways of seeing your students. There's what's called participants and what's called users. Now, participants are the active people on your course, the people who are now and live on your course. So if I click on participants and I look at this course, I can see that I've got 3 pages of students, 50 students in total on this course. And instantly what it tells me about the participants is when they were last in the course. So you can see me, myself, coming from Bosnia and Herzegovina, was last in 47 seconds ago. But you can see some of my students were in, someone was in an hour ago, a few days ago, and so on and so forth. So you get a sense of the activity from that and who your students are. If you look instead at users, and users is another place you can look for your students, and users, enrolled users is where we look. So that's in course administration, users, enrolled users. What you'll see is students who are on your course, but also students perhaps, what we tend to get there is other students who've been enrolled in different ways. So if I look down the right-hand side here, you can see that there are a number of students who are auto-enrolled. In other words, they are on the register for HND Admit F1AL. And if they're on the register for HND Admit F1AL, then they're on my course. So as long as they're on the register, they're on my course. What you'll see with this course is that we've also got a number of manual enrollments, not just auto enrollments, but manual enrollments. And you can see that there are a number of the students who are manually enrolled as well. Now, that means that they've been put on by us instead of automatically. And the reason for that might be because they've been put on for at the request of the school or the faculty or the teacher. For example, we have courses where there are maybe 3 groups, an A, B, and C group, and the same teacher is teaching all 3 courses, A, B, and C. And what they say to us is, well, look, I don't want to have to put the content in 3 separate versions of the same course. Can you not move the users across to the one course? So what we do is we move all the people from group B and C onto the A course, and that may be what's happened here. And they are therefore manual enrollments rather than automatic enrollments. However, there's a downside to manual enrollments, and you can see it here. That person was manually enrolled in 2014. That person was enrolled in this one down here was enrolled in 2014. They don't come off automatically. If they're auto-enrolled, they come off automatically. If they're manually enrolled, they don't come off automatically. So if you ask us to move students across, as this course has, they'll stay there until they're taken off. Now, that's an issue that we're sort of dealing with at the top end. What we're trying to do is find the old students in the system and delete them from the whole system, so they will disappear from here. But if you're looking at participants, you're seeing the active people in your course, and you can see when they were last in. What you'll also see, you will see the inactive people in participants, so you can see that person was a year and a day ago and a year and 7 days ago, but they're organized by activity, so therefore the old ones will be right at the end. So what you'll find is that participants is a good way to see your current students and so forth. If you do want to take your students off who are on the course and shouldn't be on the course, you can actually do it. So if I was a teacher on this course, if I'm any teacher and I was the teacher on this course and I go to my enrolled users, so administration, course administration, users, enrolled users, you'll see a cross at the end of someone who's manually enrolled. So if that person, Jennifer Hood, was enrolled and she was last on a year and 22 days ago, she was manually enrolled. And I actually think I wouldn't cause any problems at all if I click on that cross at the end of that and it says, do you really want to unenroll Jennifer Hood from the course? And I'm going to say yes. I'm going to continue, and I'm actually going to do that. So Jennifer Hood is no longer on the course. You can do that if you want to make your courses tidier. As I said, we're working on that at the back end. It's been a problem because obviously some students, if we take them off the system, they may be on different courses now. They may have moved across to other versions of the same course and so forth. And if we move manual enrollments off a course, that's fine. But if we move them off the system, they're lost to the system. So I have to say it is a small problem that we're kind of working on to get a grip on. So that's my users, that's managing my users. And the best way to see them is in participants. And if I'm in my course here, I'm in this unit, I look at my participants and they're obviously seeing roughly what I see, but they're not seeing exactly the same as I see because anything that's grayed out, they're not seeing. So in this case, this unit I've chosen, it's why I chose this unit is because the content is hidden from the students just now. This is a unit I think they haven't started on yet. But if I want to get in touch with my participants, then I don't do that through the course. I could put a notice here on the course. As you can see, a notice here, introduction to unit. This unit involves. I can put some text here. I could put what's called a label here or something, giving a notice to the students. But if I want to contact my students in a different way, then participants is the right place to do that. So I can go to my participants. I can see all my students here, obviously over 3 pages. I can select all of my students, or I can choose selected people. So, for instance, I could select one student. I'll select Samantha MacArthur there. And with that selected user, I could choose to send her a message. Or I can select all my students, and with all my students, my selected users, I can send a message. So if I was wanting to do that, I'd click send a message, and the message might be, remember the outcome 1 assessment next week, let's say. Sorry, no question mark, next week. And that's given me a preview of the message just now, if I click on preview. So, and these are all the people it's going to. So I click on preview, and I can now send that message. If I remember, this is what the message looks like, and I can click send message. So if I want to send a message to all participants, then I do it through participants by selecting them. Incidentally, when I do select all, unfortunately, one of the weaknesses of this is it only selects that first page. So I would have to then go to page 2, select all, and page 3, select all if I wanted to. But obviously by page 2, I'm starting to run out of the people who are actually on the course. I might want to, say, from there, start unticking some of these people, possibly. And then, again, with that selected users, I choose send a message. And in this case, I'll be sending the message to those users. Right. So participants is a good way to manage your users. So sending messages, seeing who your users are, taking them off the course. A last thing I would say about managing participants is seeing their activity on the course. And again, that's something that can be quite useful sometimes. So let's go back to the course, and let's just say the course was live just now and all this content was visible. I might want to know who's been in and who's been actually accessing something here. You know, maybe there's an assessment here that they're supposed to look at, or a piece of reading here that they're supposed to look at, or something like that. I might want to find out which of my users has been in and has done that. So one of the things I can do is go to what's called reports. Again, it's in administration, in the course administration, and it's called reports. So if I go to reports, what I'm going to do here, oh sorry, I've just got a little pop-up there. If I go to reports, what I'm going to do here is go to what's called logs, and logs are logs of activity. So in this course, there's the name of the course, for all participants on all days, I can see all activities, and I could just do get these logs. That'll take a little time to generate. If I click get these logs, oh no, well that's not too bad actually. I can see all the participants alphabetically. I can see what they've done all the days for the last 30, I think it goes back about 30 days, and that's quite a lot to see, and you can see there's pages and pages of it, and I can download that table as a CSV file if I want. That's probably not the best way to use it. What would be much better would be to say to choose an activity. So I might choose the thing that I want to see if they've used. So teacher materials, let's say it's a student guide to creating a relational database. Have they read it? So all participants, or I might want to select an individual participant, say, has Lauren read it? But if it was all participants, I might just want to go back a couple of days. You know, I might want to go back to a certain day, or I might leave it all days. You can't do sort of like back the last 7 days. You've either got to choose a day or you've got to do all days. So you probably do it with all days. And so with this guide, I do get these logs. And in this case, it tells me who's accessed this guide and when they accessed it. So I can see actually it was, you know, someone's accessed it on the 9th of March, actually the teacher. Someone's accessed it on the 22nd of February. So I can actually see there has been activity around that student guide to creating a relational database, and quite a lot of activity. And of course, if it's an individual student that I've got doubts about whether they've done what I've asked them to do, I can just narrow it down. So I can drop down all participants. I can choose Stephanie Brown, let's say, and I can just choose here, I can just choose here all activities and get these logs, and I just see the logs for Stephanie Brown, and I can see her activity for right back, actually sorry, I said 30 days, we're going right back to September, so actually it's about 6 months, yeah. So you've got through reports, logs, a good way to find out what your students are doing. And so it's again another way of managing your users. So really what I've been trying to talk about in this webinar is how you manage users. In other words, how you see who they are, how you check who's live on your course, how you contact your users, and of course finally how you look at their activity on your course. Now, as I said, we want to keep these webinars down to quite a shortish time. So actually what we're going to do is, I'm going to do is do a second part of this webinar, which is about managing the content of your course rather than the users of your course. So managing your course part 2 will be about how you manage the look and the content of your course as well. So really, that's as much content as I wanted to cover in the webinar. My last thing would be to see if there's any questions, and if anybody's got any questions, please feel free to type that just now, and I'll try and answer that. And what I'm also going to do is I'm going to finish off with a tiny little poll, and it's just to ask you, would you do one of these webinars again? So when I launch the poll, which will be the last thing I do, it'll actually, once you've answered the poll, it'll actually throw you out of the webinar at the end of it. So I'll give you a chance just to see if anybody, either Laura or Morag, has got any questions, and if that's the case, I'll try and answer them. But hopefully if I've answered all your questions, then that's been quite useful for you. And as I said, we've tried to keep these down to about 15 minutes, something like that. Sometimes it's hard to be precise about that, but we're not trying to take too much of your time out. The other thing about these webinars is they are recorded. I've recorded this, and so when I've finished presenting, I'll save the recording and send it out as a link to all staff, so any of your colleagues who've wanted to be on this but have missed it will be able to view it through the recording. Okay, there don't seem to be any more questions, so what I would say then is thanks very much for taking part. It's been super having you in the webinar, and last of all I'm going to launch my little poll which will just ask you to rate, whether the webinars have been useful to you. So last of all, I'll launch a poll. you'll see it's asking you how likely are you to try another webinar, rate from 1 to 5, 1 being low, 5 being high, and then once you've done that, that will throw you out. And once again, thank you for your time. And that should be available to you now. Okay. And super, everybody's voted, and that's the end of us. So thanks very much once again.